It started with a refill. She always came in around 9, same beige cardigan, same silver thermos in her hand. She didn't even look up when I said, "Morning," anymore, just nodded like it had been years, though it hadn't even been 2 months. I worked the counter 3 days a week at that coffee shop near the train tracks. I liked the hours, the quiet before the rush. Mostly, I liked that she was there. Her name was Anna. Or at least, that's what her cup said the first day. I never asked. She once asked if I was in college. I told her I'd dropped out. She said nothing to that, just stirred her coffee like she was trying to make sense of it. She'd started sitting near the window lately, same seat, right where the sunlight hit her hair. She never brought a laptop. Just a notebook. I used to imagine what she wrote in it, maybe grocery lists, maybe something heavier. That morning felt like any other. I was restocking sugar packets when she came in, her voice quieter than usual when she said, "Could you make it less sweet today?" "Sure," I said. "Trying something new?" She smiled, small, tired. "Trying to feel like myself again." I didn't know what that meant, but it stayed with me long after she sat down. At one point, her phone buzzed on the table. She didn't move to check it. Just watched the window. A light drizzle started outside, soft and uncertain, like the kind that never fully commits. I watched her thumb trace the rim of her cup, slow circles, like she was thinking of saying something but couldn't find the sentence. She caught me looking once. "What?" she asked, half smiling. "Nothing. Just you always sit there. It's where the light feels honest." She said it simply, as if honesty had a temperature. I laughed under my breath. She didn't ask why. Later, when I went to clear her table, her phone was still there. The screen had dimmed, but it wasn't locked. Just black for a second, then it lit up. A message. "You don't have to hide it anymore. He's just a kid." The words didn't register right away. I remember my reflection in the dark glass before the light came back, that tiny second where everything was still normal. Then the bubble of text blinked again, and it was like the air got heavier. She returned from the restroom a moment later, hands slightly damp, wiping them on her sleeves. She saw the phone, then me. Her eyes flicked between them, quick, sharp, and for the first time, I saw something break behind her calm. "Did you?" She started, then stopped herself. Her hand hovered above the phone like it might burn her. I said nothing. Just folded the napkin I'd been holding, too neatly, over and over, until it almost tore. She picked up her phone, locked it, slipped it into her bag. Then, quieter. "You should finish your shift." No anger. No accusation. Just distance, handed gently like a receipt. When she left, the bell above the door didn't sound right. It never did after that. And later, when I wiped her table again, I noticed something small, her silver thermos still sitting by the window. Still warm. I didn't know if I should chase her, or just let it cool down. She didn't come in for 3 days. On the 4th, she walked through the door like nothing had happened, same cardigan, same careful steps. Only her eyes were different, like someone had drawn the outline sharper. I almost didn't say anything. But she looked at me first. "Less sweet, right?" I asked. She nodded, and that was enough to break the silence. When I handed her the cup, our fingers brushed. Her hand was cold, mine wasn't. She didn't pull away, just said, "Thanks." Like it didn't matter, but it did. She sat by the window again. The thermos was gone, replaced by a book this time, The Old Man and the Sea. I smiled at that, quietly. Later, when the shop emptied out, she asked if I could help her move a box of books from her car. I said sure. It wasn't heavy, but she apologized anyway. "Sorry, I didn't think it'd be this much." "It's fine," I said. "You're lucky I'm not in class today." "You're still studying?" "Was. Not anymore." She looked at me for a second too long. That's brave. No one had ever used that word for quitting. The air outside smelled like rain again. She stood there, holding her keys, not quite ready to leave. You ever regret something? She asked suddenly. All the time. She smiled faintly. Good. Means you tried. Something about the way she said it felt like it came from experience. Like maybe she was still trying to forgive herself for something too. We loaded the last box into her trunk, and for a second, we just stood there, two people with too many words sitting behind their teeth. She said, You remind me of someone. Should I ask who? She hesitated. No. He wouldn't like that. The words landed heavy, though she said them softly. That night I replayed everything. Her voice, the way she said, brave. How she didn't correct herself when our hands brushed. I told myself it was nothing. That she was older, she probably just felt sorry for me. But pity doesn't look like that. It doesn't linger like that. The next morning, she was back again. Same seat. She didn't order anything this time, just sat with a cup I'd already made for her. You didn't ask for this, I said. She looked up. You always remember. We didn't talk much. She was reading again, and I pretended to clean the counter even though it was spotless. Her hair fell across her face, and she pushed it back with that same absent grace that made everything around her feel slower. When she got up to leave, she placed her hand on my arm, light, almost uncertain, and said, You should come by tomorrow. I'll bring the thermos. She smiled then, a small, private thing that didn't belong to the moment. And for reasons I still don't fully understand, I said yes. I don't know why that moment stayed with me, maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. She lived closer than I thought, a small apartment above a stationery shop, with plants on the windowsill that looked half forgotten. She opened the door before I could knock twice, hair pulled back, sleeves rolled up. Sorry, it's a mess, she said. It wasn't. Everything was too neat, like someone had been trying not to live there. I handed her the thermos she'd left behind. Still warm, I said. She smiled faintly. You kept it? Didn't want to throw it out. You could have. Didn't feel right. Silence stretched, soft but awkward. The kind that feels like waiting for a decision that never comes. She poured tea for both of us, jasmine, light, floral. Her hands were steady, mine weren't. I watched the steam curl between us, watched it fade. You don't talk much, she said. I do, I said. Just, not when it matters. She looked at me then, really looked, the kind of gaze that presses against whatever you've been hiding. Outside, someone called up from the street, a man's voice, casual. Anna, you home? She froze. Neighbor, she said too quickly. He helps with the mail. But the way her fingers tightened on the cup said otherwise. He left after a moment, footsteps fading. She exhaled, slow, controlled. Then forced a smile. You shouldn't believe everything you see. I didn't see anything. Good. I wanted to ask. I didn't. I just nodded, pretending to sip. The room smelled like tea and rain and something else. Distance, maybe. She sat down beside me on the small couch. Close enough that our knees almost touched. The air shifted. The clock on the wall ticked louder. I used to come here after work, she said quietly. Before. She stopped. Looked at the tea instead. Before what? Before I forgot how to talk to people without apologizing first. I didn't know what to say, so I just leaned back, listening. She rubbed her thumb against the rim of her cup, again and again, like she could erase the moment by wearing it down. The silence held everything, the questions, the ache, the hesitation. She turned slightly, just enough for her shoulder to brush mine. It wasn't an accident. It also wasn't a move. Something unspoken rose between us, fragile, suspended, inevitable. I could feel the question forming between breaths. The almost. But then, footsteps again. This time quicker, heavier. Someone walking past the hallway, pausing. She stiffened. Her hand moved away. I swallowed hard, stood up too quickly. I should go. She didn't stop me. just nodded once. But when I reached the door, she said, barely above a whisper, "You forgot your cup." Our fingers met again, light, hesitant, in the handoff. Neither of us pulled away right away. Her eyes lifted to mine, quiet, searching. For a second, I thought she might close the distance. For a second, I thought I might let her. Then the clock ticked again, one sharp sound, and she looked away. And just like that, the moment folded back into silence. We started walking together sometimes. Not planned. Just the same direction after closing. That evening, the air was cool, pale gray sky, a faint smell of rain again, like it followed her around. She had a bag of groceries in one hand, her phone in the other. I carried the thermos. "Always that same thermos," she said. "You don't have to walk me every time." "I know." "Then why do you?" "Habit, I guess." Her laugh was small. "You're too young for habits." We stopped at the park, the one between the library and the post office. She sat down on a bench. I stayed standing for a bit, then sat too, careful to leave space. A couple walked past, holding hands. She watched them until they disappeared. Then, quietly, "You'll meet someone your age one day." It sounded like a warning. Or maybe a wish she didn't want to make. I said, "Maybe." "Not maybe," she said. "You will." Her voice had this edge, like she was trying to convince herself more than me. The silence after that stretched long. I could hear the leaves brushing against each other. Somewhere, a dog barked. I looked at her. "You think I don't know what I want?" She didn't answer right away. Just pulled her scarf tighter, eyes on the ground. "I think you don't know what you'll lose." The way she said lose, it didn't sound like advice. It sounded like memory. I wanted to ask what she meant, but she stood up, brushing off her coat. "We should go." Then I said it. I don't know why. Maybe because she was walking away. Maybe because I couldn't keep it in anymore. "I don't come here for coffee." She froze. I could see her shoulders tighten. She turned halfway toward me, the kind of turn that's half defense, half hope. Her lips parted like she might say something, then closed again. She sat back down. "Don't do that," she whispered. "Don't make it harder." "I'm not, you are." The wind picked up, scattering a few napkins someone had left on the path. She watched them drift. Her hand trembled just once, then stilled. "You don't understand what this looks like," she said finally. "Then tell me." She shook her head. "You're 22. I'm 45. I knew your mother once." That landed like a slow punch. I didn't know whether to laugh or apologize or stand up and leave. Instead, I just said, "You still think I don't know what I want?" Her eyes softened then, for a moment, something unguarded slipped through. She reached out, fingers brushing mine, not holding, not quite letting go either. It was enough to make everything else disappear. The noise, the rules, the years. Then her phone buzzed again. She looked down. Didn't touch it. Just stared. The screen lit her face in cold light. And I swear, for a moment I thought she might cry. She finally said, so softly I almost missed it, "What are we doing?" And neither of us had an answer. She stopped coming. No warning. No message. Just absence, like a light turned off mid-sentence. The first morning, I told myself she was busy. By the third, I stopped making her usual cup. It felt strange, how silence could rearrange a place. Even the chair by the window seemed to know something was missing. On the fifth day, I saw her. Across the street, near the pharmacy. She was with someone, a girl, maybe 16, with her same eyes. They were laughing about something small, something private. She didn't see me. Or maybe she did and chose not to. I went back to the cafe and stayed late that night. Cleaned the same counter 3 times. The same song played twice on the radio, and I didn't notice until it ended. I almost texted her. The draft just said, "You left your thermos again." Even though it wasn't true. I deleted it before hitting send. That weekend, her seat was finally taken, an older man reading the paper, leaving crumbs everywhere. I should have been relieved. Instead, I caught myself watching the door every time the bell rang. A week later, she walked in. She looked different. Hair down, no makeup, eyes tired in a way I hadn't seen before. She didn't come to the counter. Just stood there, waiting for me to notice. "Still doing less sweet?" I asked. She smiled barely. "You remember everything, don't you?" "Not everything." Her eyes flicked down. "Maybe that's good." When I handed her the cup, she didn't sit down. Just held it, both hands wrapped around it like it might keep her together. "I can't come here anymore," she said softly. The words were calm. Practiced. I tried to say something, anything, but my throat felt tight. She looked around the room, at the tables, the window, everything but me. "My daughter's back for a while," she added. "She saw a message." The sentence hit like cold air. Not anger. Just finality. I wanted to ask which message, but I already knew. The one that wasn't meant for me. The one I'd seen by accident. She took a small sip, then set the cup down, unfinished. "I thought I could keep it simple," she said. "Just talk." "But it never stays simple, does it?" I shook my head. "No," I said. "It doesn't." We stood there for a moment, both knowing we were standing at the edge of something that couldn't continue and couldn't quite end either. She reached for the thermos on the counter, the one I'd kept for her, but stopped halfway. "You keep it," she said. And before I could answer, she was already at the door. The bell chimed, too bright, too quick. That night, I sat on the floor beside the thermos. Drafted another message. Deleted that one too. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused. Like life forgot to finish the sentence. I didn't see her for weeks. Not in the cafe, not near the bookstore, not anywhere she used to linger. Then one evening, just before closing, the doorbell chimed, soft, hesitant. It was her. Rain clung to her sleeves, small droplets caught in her hair. She didn't look at me right away, just placed her thermos on the counter, empty. "You forgot this," I said. She shook her head. "No. I left it." The air between us was still, not cold, not warm, just paused. "I shouldn't have," she said after a moment. "I made things harder for you." I wiped the counter with a cloth that didn't need it. "You didn't." She smiled sadly. "You don't lie very well." She was right. I wanted to ask how her daughter was. How she was. But none of it felt like the right place to start. So instead I said, "You stopped coming." "I had to," she said. She asked who you were. "What did you say?" She met my eyes then. "That you were kind." It shouldn't have meant as much as it did. But it landed deeper than anything else she could have said. We stood in silence again, two people with too many versions of the truth between them. Finally I asked, "Was it ever real?" Her breath caught. She didn't answer for a long time. Then, quietly, "More than it should have been." Something in me gave way, not relief, not pain, just understanding. The kind that leaves no space for anger. She moved around the counter, closer now. Not touching, but close enough to feel the warmth of her. "You'll move on," she said softly. "You'll forget this." "I don't think I want to." "That's how forgetting starts," she whispered. She looked down at her hands. Her wedding ring was gone. I hadn't noticed until now. The faint line of it still there, pale against her skin. "I filed for divorce last month," she said suddenly. I didn't know whether to speak or stay quiet. So I said nothing. Her voice trembled slightly. "It wasn't because of you. But it made me see what wasn't working anymore." She looked at me then, really looked like the first time. "You reminded me what it's like to be seen." The words hung there, fragile, final. We stood like that for a long moment, two people who had run out of ways to pretend they didn't care. She reached for my hand. Not to hold it. Just to rest hers against mine for a heartbeat, like a quiet apology. Then she said, almost to herself, "We'll be okay." It wasn't a promise. It wasn't closure. But it was enough. She turned to leave, the bell above the door soft against the rain. I watched her go. Didn't call out. Didn't move. Just stood there, hand still warm from hers. Okay. It's been a year. The cafe still opens at 8. I still get there early, 7:30, sometimes earlier. The light hits the same spot by the window at 8:47 a.m., the same way it used to when she'd sit there, notebook open, thermos beside her. Only now, the thermos sits behind the counter. She leaves it there most days. Says it feels safer that way. She comes in maybe twice a week. Never at the same time, never with the same routine. Sometimes she reads, sometimes she just watches the street outside. Sometimes she helps me close. We don't talk about the message. Or the months we didn't speak. Or what it was that made her come back. Maybe we don't need to. Some things don't need repairing, they just need time to stop hurting. Once, she brought jasmine tea from her place, said it was too good to drink alone. We shared it after closing, sitting by the same window where everything once fell apart. She said, "You've changed." I said, "So have you." She smiled. Maybe that's the point. She still stirs her cup longer than necessary. I still pretend not to notice. Sometimes we walk after dark, the same park, the same bench between the library and the post office. The leaves sound different now, softer somehow. She doesn't apologize as much. I don't wait for her to. We talk about ordinary things, how her daughter's at university now, how the rain keeps missing weekends, how black coffee still tastes too bitter without her, less sweet, joke to balance it out. It's not romance. Not exactly. It's something steadier. Quieter. The kind of connection that doesn't need naming because it already feels lived in. A few weeks ago, she came in just before closing. No words, no order. Just that same cardigan, same calm. She handed me the thermos and said, "Fill it?" I did. Half tea, half coffee, something in between, like us. When she took the cup, our fingers brushed again. No hesitation this time. Just warmth. She sat by the window until 8:47 again, watching the sunlight stretch across the floor. Then, without looking up, she said, "Do you think it ever really ends? The things that change us?" I thought for a long time before answering. "No," I said. "I think we just learned to live where the silence used to be." She looked up then, eyes soft. "That's enough, isn't it?" "Yeah," I said. "It is." The clock ticked. The street light flickered. The air smelled faintly of jasmine and rain. No declarations. No promises. Just two people who stayed long enough to see what peace could look like. Sometimes she still forgets her thermos. Sometimes I pretend not to notice. We both know she'll be back. Sparkles, did this story stay with you? What kind of quiet, real love stories do you want to hear next? Share below. Your next story might begin at 8:47 a.m. too.